My grandmother carried the weight of the world on her shoulders, raising 3 children by herself in Detroit, Michigan. She juggled 3 jobs as a school teacher, daycare instructor, and a cashier to afford the necessities in life. When she finally saved enough to go to a private doctor, she was shocked by the callousness of Dr. Smith as he connected her character and morals to a seemingly careless disregard for the health of her and her family. To this doctor, the size of her hips and her relationship status were a testament to overtly sexual behavior. These factors alone were causing all of her health problems. The image the doctor painted of my grandmother is part of a long-standing image of the dangerously uninhibited black woman that has perpetrated American culture for decades. Sociologist Sabrina Strings argues that part of the historical narrative about black female sensualism is that black women commonly engage in risky behaviors that result in illness and disease. One of the earliest moments we see this narrative about black women's uninhibited behaviors being the cause of their own illness is the syphilis epidemic. Despite a low representation of black prostitutes in Paris during the 19th century, public health statistics concluded that half of all black people had the disease. The pure white image associated with the venereal disease quickly became synonymous with black women. These faulty statistics were plastered in scientific journals, which eventually paired the image of the syphilitic prostitute with the existing racist view that black women had egregious sexual appetites. Today, the notion of the overly sexual black woman still appears in national discourses about obesity. Medical journals that publish findings on the growth of obesity in black communities base scientific findings on cultural stereotypes about black women. This parallels the Strings' definition of deference, where black people were viewed not only different from white people, but also underdeveloped, immature, or temporarily behind in their physical form and their cultural and intellectual sensibilities. For example, the rise in obesity in black communities is supported by an odd, observed attraction towards larger black women despite suspected poor health. Statistics presented only to corroborate the existing racial narrative provide a hollowed out understanding of the lives of women of color burdened by intentional, systematic setbacks. For example, medical journals attribute obesity to black women engaging in overindulgence and inactivity. That some baked beans and Lawry seasoning created health problems large enough to snowball into a national public health emergency. Black feminist perspectives on health challenge this view of black women's sexuality as a source of the supposed obesity epidemic. They're not only identifying racist narratives, but they also point to the structural obstacles to health. These structural barriers include black families living in low-income areas being subjected to food deserts, healthy foods and vegetables are either too expensive or expired, as well as long work hours and possible threats of violence in dangerous neighborhoods that only create further barriers to actively pursuing exercise the amount as recommended. Blaming the victims of oppression is the ultimate tool of preventing assistance and justifying unequal treatment. Understanding the lasting historical themes of racism as well as the lack of access have provided me the tools to address harmful images of black women in media and medicine alike. As long as doctors look through the eyes of black patients, such as my grandmother and I, only seeing a burden, a disease, or an overindulgent sexual appetite, then we'll never progress past our dark history of race-based medicine.